Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you. I hate my roommates. Do you know a new planet? Episode 2. I am your host, Fernanda, or Nana. Welcome back. And thank you for tuning in to episode 2. Yay. Now forgive me because we are a little sick this week. And my throat is not the best. So I do have a Ricola. I think. Now that sounds funny when I say it out loud. Okay, so I gotta tell you guys, y'all won't believe this, but I did it. I have packed up my shit and I moved out of that horrible living situation with my insurance company roommates. But unfortunately, now I have new ones. So you know how it goes. You know, when you have new roommates, it always starts off great. You know, I can walk freely and get my juice out of the fridge or oranges, whatever it is, knowing my roommates didn't drink all of it. But now I hate my roommates. Do you know a new planet? My roommates this week are TV and celebrities. Now, these motherfuckers have been running amok all over this place ever since they found out they were so likable. They don't even know that they are taking some people for suckers. With them being so young and rich, I should have known before I moved in. I hope you don't mind if I vent out a little bit. Now, before the TV at home, they actually kicked out the radio first. Can you believe it? I mention the radio because, believe it or not, they are related. You know, family issues. Lucky you, I do got the dish. The year was 1886 when the German physicist Henry Hertz first identified radio waves, but it wasn't until the 1900s when radio started to be used commercially. This is how people around the world were informed and entertained. It wasn't long after till the first mechanical television came out. In 1928 was the first mechanical TV made by General Electric, which brings me to ask you, have you ever wondered what was aired first and who was behind it? On September 11th, 1928 in Schenectady, New York, premiered The Queen's Messenger. This 18-second long drama was the first broadcasted film directed by London playwright named John Hartley Manners. I do have to quote Hamilton here on this. Immigrants, we get the job done. Oh, did you guys hear my co-host? Cue and high five after that. Now, people still found it hard to believe this TV business would go big though, but we couldn't deny that we love to see a moving picture. Judging from the movie growth and upcoming radio and movie stars, I mean, the ratings were hitting the roof. So here we go to prove that it doesn't matter your age. One of these TV inventors was only 21 years old, named Philo Taylor Farnsworth. Yes, if it wasn't for him looking out into their family's farm, imagine moving pictures with all the rows of crops, we would not have the television that we have today. My favorite part of this story is not only because he was so young, you know, at the time and so beyond his time, but it was what he decided to aim his camera at when demonstrating to his investors. Now, it was like an all balls out move that you would see kind of like in any young adult passionate about a dream. You know, when you're young, you really don't kind of give a fuck. You're like, fuck it, what do I have to lose? He aimed it at $1 for those investors who asked, when are we going to see some dollars in this thing, Farnsworth? So this is late 20s, early 30s now, and the resolution on these electronic televisions was, as you can imagine, was pretty crappy. And when I say crappy, I mean you couldn't see what was on the screen, like at all. Not only was it blurry, but it also had lines scrolling up and down, plus a green or blue tint sometimes. It was just horrible. Also, to add to the difficulty, these screens at the time were only about 3 inches. Actors playing on the television set had to adjust their makeup, contouring their face just so the image could appear on the other side. It was so fascinating to hear the actors at the time. You could find it now. They remember they looked terrible, as if they were like melting, but they were good guinea pigs, you know, and I think that's the experience in itself that makes it exciting and for them to stick with it. At least, you know, when you're an actor, when you're in the moment and you feel the energy, you kind of just feel like you have to keep going. You know, you're kind of like, whatever, I kind of need to eat tonight, I'll do it. And then a slight bit of, I'm an actor, I'm a professional, I could do this. This is, you know, this is me. Trucking along to early mid-30s now, there's slightly better designs, even slightly better resolution into electronic televisions. But remember, this is still so new to everyone. People at the time were still very hesitant because they thought they were were being spied on. Everyday people believed there was a small camera where Big Brother would hear and see you in your home, which ultimately led the US to fall back and having Germany and Britain explore more into the television world. Now, not only was that fear going on of being spied on, but also legal battles about advertisements, restrictions, and patents were making things more difficult for the United States to move forward and expand more, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. It was 1934 when Germany aired the first Olympic broadcast for everyone to see. Germany became the #1 in television, being able to broadcast and having hundreds of sets already sold. Now, Americans being Americans, only 2 years later, we aired our first broadcast. It was July 7th, 1936, where President Roosevelt's speech was recorded in New York City in the RCS building located on the 62nd floor with their antennas on top of the Empire State Building. Oh, what a glory. They were known as televisitors at the time. They were recording and they were like, thank you. It is great. It's a great pleasure to be a televisitor. Thank you for watching. Even when things started to semi-pick up for television in the United States, things kind of took a halt for everyone but Germany. Germany's influence spread like wildfire. Now, you may wonder, why did everyone else fall behind but Germany? If you said the World War II, then ding ding ding, you are correct. With Germany's influence through the 30s going into the 40s now, I mean, we still have the war going on, but TV is still evolving. In the 1940s, there was better quality. Screens were a little bit bigger, but not so much was going on other than commercials, advertisements, and cartoons. Having major production companies already, actually, if you don't recall, we have movies. We have Universal Studios, Paramount, and Goldwyn, which I gotta tell you is some just fascinating history of the merging of these studios. But you also have your Fox, RKO, CBS, and Warner Brothers. I bring these up because they decided to step into TV. There wasn't really shows at the time per se. Think of it as an early Snapchat or TikTok where people came to watch random clips thrown together because that's what the studios had. You'll see cowboys and Indians, natives, maybe some news or how trains were made, and then boom, fashion runway, or boom, you get opera and comedy, which segue going into celebrities now. Movie stars didn't know quite what to do if they got cut from silent films, but luckily Hollywood is like a big union. They work together, even though it doesn't seem like it, creating their own award shows to be acknowledged even if their picture flopped. For example, I give you the Guild Award. Nonetheless, actors and models wanted and went to a place called Hollywood, California, in their hopes to becoming a self-making celebrity or star. They saw potential in this industry because of the attention it was getting. It wasn't about the doctors, politicians, scientists, or writers who got these speaking parts anymore. Models and dancers were really hitting it big, being half naked and shaking their ass. Well, it was worse before, they got censored. But something changed going into the 1950s. Thanks to another immigrant, Cuban this time, thinking something just out of his ass, actually. Yes, the thing that changed everything was a sitcom show starring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz and I Love Lucy. This was it, people. This is what the people wanted. Give it to me, give it to me. Yes, to having 3 cameras rolling on set and a live freaking audience. Oh, forget about it. Forget about it. It has never been done before. Now that laughing cue actually with the audience, because they actually had to build the set, actually dates back to us watching plays in the theater, which is why that audience laughing after something funny happens and you start laughing at home, it's a sense of, kind of like, it's a satisfaction. You're not alone, enjoying the show. We loved it. Oh, you know what? I gotta do it now. I should have said something funny. Damn it. I don't know. But, it sounds nice. It sounds good. But yeah, we loved it, and it brought millions of viewers each week, all over the world. Maybe it's because we never saw a couple like them on TV before. I mean, their comedic body language that Desi and Lucy nailed. The chemistry between Lucy, Desi, Vivian, and William was like watching magic. For history's sake, I mean, they gave us a pregnant woman on TV, and back in the 50s was a complete no. I believe you couldn't even say pregnant. You had to say she was expecting. Recall in the 20s and 30s when the United States had that halt? Well, yeah. let's rewind a little bit. Sorry. Well, not only was there the legal battles, but Uncle Sam and the federal department needed to butt in going into the television. Well, thanks to the religious crazies already influencing the government, literally, a Republican politician named William H. Hayes actually created the Motion Picture Association of America. Him and others were trying to stop sin from spreading, giving viewers a warning before watching. So thanks, I guess. With, as you can imagine, if they had such a hard time with adjusting with movies back then to now thinking that these motion pictures were going to be in your home were going to be okay, they said fuck no. TV is going to make you gay. It'll start making you smoke weed. You'll join the entertainers and listen to jazz and go to hell. I mean, they even stopped people from drinking. Recall that prohibition. I mean, they were strict motherfuckers. So that's why we couldn't really move forward back then. That's why Germany kind of took forward. A bittersweet thanks again to Uncle Sam for butting in on the TV for that. If you have ever seen these oldie shows, then you recall, the separate beds. Yeah, but I Love Lucy was and still is one of the world's best TV shows of all time. And on a personal note, when I first saw this show, it was like nothing I have ever seen before. I couldn't stop watching. Even though it was black and white, I still love black and white, actually. I don't know if it was because my mom always saw black and white films. I don't know. Never had a problem with it. But Lucille Ball was and still is like one of my favorite actresses. What a freaking true inspiration in my field, truly. Okay, so now here we are in the 50s. TVs were cheaper. The first remote came out and Americans were seeing shows that captured what an American household is, quote unquote. For example, Father Knows Best, The Andy Griffith Show, Lone Ranger, that was kind of racist, and Perry Mason. I do love those Perry Mason shows. Love them. They made shows of what they presumed was going on around them, their lifestyle, their views, and by their, I mean white people, of course. Recall who's behind the madness, y'all. Federal government. It was as if they were trying to influence Americans of a certain stereotype, influencing them. Sounds familiar. Anyway, getting into the 60s, we get color television. Celebrities now more than ever had such a huge fan base with recording cameras capturing them performing like Elvis and the Beatles. These were people they saw on TV and they fell in love. Fans needed and wanted to take a look into the lives of celebrities so much. Anything to just see how they act behind the scenes or get a taste of them. A freaking tissue, anything. It was Andy Warhol who filmed himself eating a hamburger, actually, which I believe is the first recording selfie. I think this was the time everything turned, not only in the celebrity high life, but of course in television. It was 1960s through the 70s where the kids who had their parents grow up in the genre of the beginning of TV, with now 40 plus years with the world of TV business now, felt they could experiment in this world, since it was a lot more easier than it was in their time. Plus, these kids got tired of seeing the perfect family on TV because they knew it wasn't about the quote perfect all-American family. We wanted to see on TV what we were seeing around our everyday lives. I mean, at the time we had the civil rights movement, which drew so much needed change, and Cher's fashion was like nothing people ever saw before. I mean, speaking of, we had Star Wars. Star Wars came out in the 70s. It was like, what? We wanted change and we showed it in our TV. It wasn't about the perfect family anymore. I give you Three's Company, All in the Family, Sanford and Son, and The Jeffersons. More great sitcoms, more studios, and now with laughing tracks instead of live audiences. Sometimes, I mean, we still had SNL and game shows. TV shows were pretty typical. You have your family or friends and your conflict, and then it gets fixed by the end of the show. Typical games. And people loved in and tuned in more if they saw their celebrities playing. But they were living the high life, leaving the colorful, cute, toy-like 70 television sets in the 70s, though. Something was brewing in the new decade to come after this crazy decade of change in color. Jumping into the 80s, we get our first LCD screens. We're still averaging about 28 to 32-inch screens, but it's still pretty impressive with color and, remote controllers instead of little clickers. A lot better controllers now. And I introduced to you live TV. Going live was a change in the game. Seeing live was an attraction to people. 750 million people tuned in to see Princess Diana's wedding. We also had the AIDS live concert drawing in an audience of 1.9 billion viewers. Madonna, Queen, Run DMC, and Elton John were some of the performers that played it. Of course, we still had our great TV shows like The Rapist Himself, The Cosby Show or Dallas and 60 Minutes. And holy shit, did we love our game shows too and our talk shows. Oh my god. But being live was incredible. It was different, new, and definitely unexpected. No one knew what was going to happen, but needed to watch. I think this is where we took another shift, ending that decade of the 80s, going into a new one, thanks to Mr. Jerry Seinfeld. Yes. This man, Mr. Jerry, this man created a show based on not the typical family or getting into a conflict or the roommates and resolving it, but it was nothing. This sitcom show was called Seinfeld. We fucking loved it, and we ate it up all through the 90s. Not only that, but seeing people react live with shows like Cops and Maury, the line was really getting pushed. Thank you, Jerry Springer. Those 90s were getting crazy, but viewers came in by the millions and people tuned in. Oh, and I can't forget Oprah. I mean, not as crazy as Jerry Springer because those 90s were getting crazy, but viewers came in by the millions and people tuned in not only to that, but to Seinfeld brought more like a day-to-day life and random shit happens due to chance and we record it. I welcome you, my generation of TV. Reality TV. Reality TV was thanks to a new show called The Real World, played on MTV. These everyday people were asked to live together and have cameras rolling in the biggest city in the world, New York City. And we just waited to see what would happen. At the time, these mix of people didn't know what the hell they were getting into, but it sounded like a good break, but figured this show should have a topic centered around it. But it was ultimately them. How would they act together? Let's record it. It was funny actually at the time. Some of these people got so much in their head that it was about a love story produced and put together by the producers. Which brings me to the next quick shift we made in TV after hitting it big with reality, not to mention the boost in 15-minute fame. But now TV is everything to everyone, ending the 90s and going into the new millennium. Everyone knew what day and time their show aired and they made sure not to miss it because if you missed it, you were shit out of luck. Which had some big businesses think of something wild. DVRs. What the hell is a DVR? It is a digital video recording system that was able to record your show in case you missed it. With this device, you were able to also rewind or even pause it. What? We never thought it was possible. If you were like me, you remember if you really wanted to capture something on TV, you had to buy like a blank VHS and record your show. But having DVR was only if you had cable, and it had limited storage to save your shows too. And thanks to cable TV, people could watch pretty much whatever they want with cable offering 100 channels, including HBO, Disney, MTV, Cartoon Network, Food Network, QVC, your local news, and PBS and CNN. And cable is expensive too. We're talking about hundreds of dollars a month, including your DVR was a luxury. I mean, in today's money, we're talking like close to, $200 some, $300, I don't know, something crazy like that. Now, just a few years into this new millennium, we had a bit of a halt. Yes, I bring you the internet. Yes, internet came out earlier than the 2000s, but internet connection was more accessible to more people. It was faster, and there was more people connected on it. There was a lot of bundles back then, there was like cable and get your phone and internet, but you couldn't do it at the same time. Did I bring anybody back? Going back to TV World, they were trying to get people back to their shows. In 2003, a show called Punk'd came out where Ashton Kutcher played jokes on celebrities and people saw celebrities in a whole new light. They were kind of just as like us. It was a major boost with celebrities and TV shows. Producers began to build a formula that would give them the boost that they needed with all these ratings. People loved their drama and they were all for it, thanks to what we learned in the 90s. And plus, what they were learning about getting another look at these celebs on TV. We start seeing crazier shows. You ask, what was the formula that these producers made? I bring you staging, writing, and product placement. Come on, there isn't a coincidence that they put a religious holy person and an alcoholic party goer, club goer together and swap houses or some shit, or how the ex shows up out of nowhere at the same place that you at. Who remembers? The Bachelor, Flavor of Love. But not only were these ratings hitting the roof, but it started creating so many 15-minute fame celebrities, and some going to being millionaires today. Another shift, y'all. Approaching the 2010s, we had cool apps on our phones, and we could go on computers to go on MySpace, which would later be replaced by Facebook. And we ultimately wanted to be a part of the self-making business and see ourselves on the screen. I mean, if Snooki can be hella drunk on the beach with her friends, then hey, talk about my early teens, early 20s. I mean, late teens, early 20s. So thanks to the worldwide internet and a new website called YouTube, we could. And we did. We did it all to the most random things just to record it and upload it. We had the power in our hands to be up where everyone can see us. Only about 2 to 5 years in, everyone now has a smartphone with a recording camera built into it, which made capturing everyday life or your reality around you so much easier. It was the 2010s where influencers gave us a big boom of thinking differently on success. Maybe we can be just like these movie stars or models, just not so restricted on what TV finds beautiful or right or normal. And we were very successful, thanks to going back to our origin, seeing the reality around us. We have accepted to see the same-sex couple on TV, or someone using sign language, or condemning racism, which we're still actually working on that last one. But we have truly come a long way going into the 2020s. Television has evolved like we never imagined. Our screen size I have seen from 70 to 80 inches and bigger with projection screens. Can't forget we have our flat and curved screens, LCD, HD, 4K, and 3D. But what is the future of television shows now? Is it going extinct due to our attention span and apps? We believe that it won't be so much as a thing to watch shows on, gaming, because even that is going to change. It's going more virtual. But TV as we know it could just be used as like decor in the upcoming years, like art. We now have the control to see whatever we want, whenever we want, or how big or small we want to see it. Our celebrities, from silent screens to blurry pictures and random hamburger recordings, can be reached to us today. Now, millions of people can go live and eat hamburgers for their fans, no matter who you are. We all just want to be seen, ultimately, which makes me sick. I hate my roommates. Do you know a new planet? Thanks for letting me vent about my shitty roommates. I hope the next time you see your TV, you think just a little differently of how far we come. Or if you see a random person dancing in front of their phone in the most randomest place, that, my kind friend, could be the next thing. Tune in next week for my next episode, because I'm going to start packing now. Remember, spread love and love heals. Bye.